What's going on, guys? It's Tom. I'm back with another video. Hey, on this video, I wanted to talk about, some of the things in the Philippines that might drive you crazy. Just some of the differences, right, between, the Philippines and Western countries, like, especially the USA, where I'm from. So anyway, let's get going here. I kind of made a list, so I will occasionally look down at it. So, but the first thing I wanted to discuss here was, and there's a decent list. I mean, I've been living here for a year and a half, and then just for your information, and I'm in Quezon City, which is part of Manila. Like some of these may not be as bad, like in a small town or small city in the Philippines, but it probably will be there. You know what I mean? Like it just might not be as magnified as it is here, or if even if you're in a provincial area, you might not get some of this, that's on this list, but then but some of it will be even worse. Some of the animal noises might be worse, in the province. But anyway, yeah, that leads me to the first one, which is just noise, right? There's a lot of noise here in the Philippines. Um, the vehicles are seem a lot of some vehicles, even motorcycles, it just seems like they don't always have like mufflers like they do in the US. So everything's loud, it's like uh and you'll notice that. You know what I mean? It's something you'll notice. And sometimes, if you're living in a place where there's like kids playing and stuff like that or whatever, they'll scream and yell, and you know what I mean. Like it's sort of like if you're like talking to somebody, or and then you'll almost have to pause, because they'll be kind of because of the noise. um, that's just the one little example, right? But that leads me to, under the same category, I could probably talk about, well, let's talk about roosters, right? You've heard, I'm sure you guys have, anyone thinking about coming to the Philippines has probably watched YouTube videos, and, they've mentioned about the roosters and the barking dogs. Okay. Well, roosters are definitely, I don't know, even more prevalent than you might imagine. Like, even in the city, even in the city, even Manila, Quezon City, whatever. Now I'm in a condo complex, but right next to us, we're like in an end building, and right next to us, there's like a big barn, like a rooster barn or something. But it's not as loud as you would think. I don't know how many roosters are in there, but I mean, the only like during the day, you'll probably get used to it, right? Like, if you're sort of like, unless you're really sensitive to sound, uh, you know what I mean? Then you're going to have an issue here, if you're ultra sensitive to sound and noises. But for me personally, during the day, I don't care. I get used to it, and I kind of drown it out, or whatever. I just don't really, it doesn't bother me, Um, but obviously, when you're trying to go to sleep, right, or early in the morning or something, that's when you don't want to be have your sleep interrupted, right? Now, what we do is we just close at when we're sleeping and everything. Everything's closed. The sliding door for the balcony is closed or whatever. The air con is on in our bedroom while we're sleeping, and that drowns out a lot. But there's not much at night. There's not a lot of noises here at night. In the morning, the roosters start. Usually maybe around, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5 in the morning. We usually get up pretty early anyway, like around between 6 and 7 a.m. So it's kind of like it doesn't really, and with the windows closed, it doesn't really bother us, that much, right? If you drown it out with aircon units running and stuff like that. Um, but like I said, if you're real sensitive, man, to noise, then I don't know, I don't know what to tell you. Uh, But but that's one thing, right? Like you will notice it, almost anywhere. Like whether you're in a province or whether you're in a small city or whether you're in a big city, there's going to be roosters probably nearby somewhere where you live. You know, enough to where you'll hear them. Um, Dogs. Luckily, we don't have a lot of barking dogs. I mean, we're in a condo and there's dogs living here. Even, there's people. Pets are allowed here. So we have a dog. But our dog doesn't bark a lot, even outside. When strangers walk by or whatever, he just kind of looks at them and like he studies them, but he doesn't like. "Rah, rah, rah," he's not like a yappy dog. Other dogs are. A lot of other dogs are. If any strangers come within 20 feet, they start yapping. But anyway, as far as the neighbor's dog or whatever, yeah, sometimes I'll hear a dog, but it's really not that loud or. But you can certainly, if you're in a house, right? And I don't care if you're in a province or what, but if you have neighbors and they have a dog or more than one dog, yeah, you might experience this, man. For some reason, they'll just let the dogs bark. They'll just let the dogs bark. It might be outside too, so you'll hear it, and it could be an issue. So before you go somewhere to live, I would recommend, especially with a house, and especially if you're going to build a house, check that area out first, man, before you buy land and build a house on it. Check the neighbors, check the area, just like what you do in the U.S., right? If you're going to sell your house or whatever and buy another house, or maybe you're a first-time buyer, check out the area yourself. Drive around, see how it is at night, whatever. Well, you're going to do the same thing here, but mostly just for noise purposes. It probably won't be because of crime or potential crime or something. It's probably more likely just going to be because you want to make sure it's fairly quiet, especially at night, And karaoke, that's another thing, people do use their karaoke. And when you're dealing with houses, there's not, it's a gray area, I mean, yeah, if you complain, I guess maybe the police will come and they might talk to the person making the noise. But I mean, it's just a little more of a free for all when you're dealing with houses. When you're in a condo complex, there's going to be rules, you know what I mean? And you're not going to have that. You're not going to have late night karaoke or whatever in a condo, It's pretty much just mostly people with houses or row houses or townhomes, maybe, but not like a condo. But certainly if you're out in even in the province, if you have a neighbor, they're having a party, a birthday party or something, they'll do karaoke. The only thing you can do is hope that they sing good, Hope that they have good singing voices. It won't be as bad, And then what else is going on here? Well, traffic. This ties into traffic, because traffic, if you're near traffic, if you live near busy streets, you'll hear the traffic. You know what I mean? You'll hear the just the and the pollution. That's another item on my list. Kind of goes with the traffic, right? The diesel exhaust, and there's no emissions here. You know what I mean? There's no like, oh, you got to pass an emissions test or whatever. Like, I mean, there might be in some certain areas or whatever that are really progressive, but I mean, for the most part, these jeepneys and that, they're spitting out some smoke, man, and they're making noise too, I mean, they're cool to look at, but they make a lot of noise and they spit out a lot of pollution, That's why they're trying to replace them now with these electric vehicles, electric like buses, to take the place of the jeepneys, But you will, yeah, and then traffic is, forget about the noise, but traffic it is the worst, some of the worst traffic in the world is in like Manila. It's just crazy. Like just to drive like 10 miles, I mean, it could take you like an hour and a half, for example, it really could, I'm not exaggerating, And of course, everything here is like kilometers. Like all the street signs are in English and everything, which is great. But the measurements here are all metric, And unless you buy Western products like at S&R or Landers or something, then you might see the ounces and grams and all that instead of milliliters and liters and kilograms and all that. But in normal stores here, Philippine stores that don't have a ton of Western products, everything's metric, so you kind of have to get used to that. You know, when I was a kid, one of my school teachers told us all, we're gonna in the U.S. now. This was in the U.S., of course. Back in the '70s, no, oh, we're gonna go metric. The whole world's gonna go metric. Well, she was almost right, because the U.S. never went metric, but everywhere else did. Pretty much. It's kind of funny though. But what else is going on here? I'm looking at my list. Burning garbage, which kind of falls into the pollution category. People do burn their garbage, even in the cities and all that, and it's usually certain days that they might do it, like any one person might do it once a week or whatever. Sometimes they're burning just outside stuff, foliage or grass or whatever they're doing outside, and they just burn it. Other times it's garbage like plastic and stuff like that, and it smells bad, man. Like it. Sometimes, I mean, we got people out here that do it. That's sort of next to us, or whatever, a block away, let's say, and you can smell it. It's a big plume of smoke, dark, smoke or whatever, gray smoke, and then, yeah, it's pretty annoying, definitely. So that's something that will take a little getting used to, and you might not get used to it, and you might decide not to live here, and that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's different, right? Everyone has different levels that they can of things that they can take, So anyway, now there's some other stuff that's sort of I don't know if this would fall under sort of just like cultural or things, like not environmental things, but more like cultural things. And people do sort of they're pretty free and easy about spitting, when they, like, especially if they're sick or something, they'll be like hacking shit up and they'll just spit, like in a public area or whatever, like they don't hide it, it's just like, it's just something that you might notice, not that it never happens in the US or whatever, but it's kind of prevalent here. The Now this is kind of a interesting one. Like, when you might notice something, like when you're walking here, it's almost like driving here is like, very, like in Manila. I never want to drive here, but just being in a cab or a grab or just looking, observing when we're walking down the street. People, I mean, they're pretty good about driving here, and you can never really go too fast. So I haven't seen really any car accidents here. I've seen some motorcycle small accidents where they're not going real fast, just boom into maybe a bike gets cut off by a jeepney or something, or maybe two bikes collide. I've seen that, within the last year, living here, right outside our gate, and excuse me. But when you're walking here, it's like people don't get out of the way. You know what I mean? Like, especially younger people. I might disclaim that a little bit, but sometimes it's kind of everybody, but it's especially younger people. They'll just be walking down the sidewalk, and there might even be room for them and you, but they'll just walk right down the middle, and you kind of have to, like, you know what I mean? Like, you either stop, and then let them go by, or you just have to go around them or whatever. But they probably won't move, like, it's kind of like, it's like they're tunnel vision or something. They just, like this is my walking lane, It's almost like driving, right? Like, oh, I'm in this lane, so, you got to stay out of it or whatever. And you might notice that, you might even notice that at the grocery store sometimes with the carts, like people will just go, right up in front of you or something, or, And so you got to like walk defensively, you know, kind of like you would drive, right? And shop defensively, especially with those carts, man. Especially those older ladies, man. They'll cut you off, with them shopping carts. You got to watch out. But that's just something that I've noticed, and it's a little frustrating sometimes. You know what I mean? When you're walking from the store and you got like groceries, and hell, I'm a senior technically. I mean, I'm 63. Doesn't matter, like they just, you know, like they'll just block the whole. Or if you're walking behind somebody, you know what I mean? Like it's a couple people or whatever, and they're just like really slow. Like they'll walk really slow. And for me, I don't know if it's because I'm from Chicago or whatever, but I walk fast. I like to walk fast. You know, and then you get to the point where even in the mall or whatever, you're stuck behind somebody. You're just like, oh man, there's no room to get around them, and they're just walking really slow. And then you're just like, and sometimes Amy will get ahead of me, and then I'm stuck, and I'm like, nah. And then when I see an opening, I'll shoot around them, get into passing gear, with my feet, But it's just stuff that you will notice here, you know what I mean? I mean, it's a difference that you'll notice, especially after you've been here for a while. You might not notice it as much on just a trip, like a 1 month trip, but you'll definitely notice it once you're living here, And what else is on the list? Well, falling in line, right? Like in the culture is almost like people will just, if there's a line and they want that thing, like, or if you're standing, there might be somebody just standing near something and they're not necessarily in line, but people will get behind them. Like, oh, okay, this is the line. And like, they might be there for 10 minutes or, before somebody says, oh, no, I'm not in line. You know what I mean? Like it's happened with me. I'll be standing there and then I go, no, I'm not in line. I tell them right away because I know what they're doing. But the locals sometimes no one will say anything. Like people are so used to waiting for things and falling in line, that that's what they'll do. You know what I mean? Like they'll be in the wrong line. Like, oh, this is closed, but they'll be, because one person is there that doesn't know that it's closed. There'll be three people behind them or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and then literally 10, 15 minutes later, oh, this line's closed, you know? So that's certainly, you might notice that, you know what I mean? When you come here to live, especially, it's just the whole culture of, they're so used to waiting for everything, Try going to have a doctor's appointment or something. You'll find out about waiting. If you're only waiting 30 to 45 minutes, you're lucky. At a Philippine like hospital. If you just have a doctor's appointment, I'm not talking about some major thing, but just a regular appointment to see your doctor. At least in the city here, at a busy place, right? It might not be that way at a small hospital or whatever, But yeah. Whereas in the U.S., if you're waiting, 45 minutes, you really get pissed off, don't you? You're like, "Argh," and then sometimes you might even walk out. Like, I'll just reschedule or, whatever, because you get so mad, But here, that's like nothing. 45 minutes, that one's been there for an hour and a half, that person, or whatever. This is going to be a longer video, I guess. So hopefully you guys don't get too crazy on me, I hope you comment though, Let me know what you think about some of this stuff. Now one basic thing that you'll notice is that people eat with their hands, and women, men, doesn't matter, It's like a cultural thing, And that might take getting used to for you, It doesn't really bother me that much, you know what I mean? Like, but some of you guys it will, I mean, because I kind of eat with my hand. I mean, unless it's like something you got to cut and eat, you know. But I mean, if it's chicken or fried chicken or whatever, obviously, certain things like pizza, it's normal to eat with your hands. But they eat everything with their hands. Rice, like they'll just, you know, because it's kind of a communal thing too, like they're used to eating in a communal way. So, but that is definitely something that you may notice. Let me see if I missed anything here. We're winding down, guys. I know it's over 20 minutes. Oh, you know what? This will be the last thing, I believe. Let's see. Yeah. Now, this is funny because I think one of my viewers commented on that or mentioned this. And this has been bothering me for a long time here. I think I've mentioned it in previous videos. And I've been trying to figure out how to get rid of them and stuff. But especially we're an N unit, so they come in, man. Because we keep the doors open, the sliding doors and all that open, and we don't always use the screen. So, you know what I mean? It's almost impossible to prevent this. But there's these tiny ants here in the Philippines. Tiny, tiny ants. And they will get on your food or whatever. They'll wherever there's food, they'll find it. If there's little sediment of food, or something on the floor or on a table, they'll come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden there'll be like a bunch of ants. You know what I mean? And if you leave something, a plate with food on it, like on a kitchen table even, don't leave it there too long because, they'll be there. And I've been studying them a little bit. And they're kind of like, these ants are like, they're like army infantry, man. Like they'll send a scout out. They'll be like, you'll see when we have our dog's food out, right? When it's still got food in it because he only ate half of it, and it's on the floor. It's in a regular bowl, like not a dog bowl, but like a regular bowl. And if there's any kind of sediment, like the dog, our dog dropped a little food or something, and a little gravy, or a little sediment or something. These guys, these ants, they'll send one scout out looking for food, and he'll come out, and if you see him, just kill him so he can't get back to the rest of the platoon. Because otherwise he'll come out, he'll find the food, or he'll see the food, he'll go back and get the rest of the platoon, and then the next thing you know it, there'll be a whole line of them, just a long line of ants, right, going at this food, and then there'll be like a bunch of them right on the food. You'll notice it if you really watch. If you see it enough, which I've seen it enough, so it's kind of like, that's what happens, man. Anyway, that's about it, guys. I know some of this might be a little bit amusing, hopefully, for you guys, but there are just cultural differences, you know what I mean? Mostly, right? I mean, but it's just something that, you might want to be cognizant of, and something that you will notice if you're living here, and hopefully it doesn't sort of drive you crazy. So please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later. I hope you have a great day.